Annabelle, probably the second most famous haunted doll behind Robert. Annabelle has terrified people for decades, and her real story is just as disturbing as the films the possessed doll is based off of. But there is one thing separating Annabelle from Robert, and that is no matter how scary or cruel Robert's tricks were, he was never responsible for someone's death. Now without further ado, let's dive into the terrifying true story of Annabelle, the doll. In 1970, the doll was given as a birthday gift to a 28-year-old nurse named Donna. The nurse absolutely loved her gift and brought her doll home to her apartment, which she shared with another nurse named Angie. At first, nothing went wrong. Annabelle was placed on the sofa, greeting guests with her lively and colorful clothing. However, things started to change. The doll seemed to move around the room by itself. One day, Donna left the doll on the sofa and went to work. When she returned, the doll was in her bedroom, with the bedroom door shut. The two nurses chalked this up to misremembering where they put the doll. But soon after, they began finding notes throughout the apartment that read, "Help me." The notes were written on parchment paper, which the two women did not keep in their home. For the most part, the occurrences were eerie and scary, but nothing dangerous. At least that was until Lou, Angie's boyfriend, was alone in the apartment when he heard rustling and movement coming from Donna's room. He went to check on what the noise could be, where he saw Annabelle lying face down on the ground. All of a sudden, Lou felt a searing pain in his chest. He ripped off his shirt and saw bloody claw marks running through it. After this and other occurrences, the two women have had enough, and invited a medium to their home to see if the doll was truly responsible. During the seance, the medium informed them that the doll was possessed by a dead 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins, whose body had been found years earlier on the site where their apartment building had been built. The medium claimed that the spirit was benevolent and simply wanted to be loved and cared for. The two young nurses felt bad for the spirit and consented to allow her to take up permanent residence in the doll. However, over the years, Annabelle got more and more aggressive, so much so that Donna and Angie called on a priest named Father Hegan. Hegan contacted his superior, Father Cook, who alerted Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed and Lorraine believed that the problem started when the two girls started to show Annabelle sympathy. The Warrens believed that they were actually dealing with a demonic force, who was in search of a human host within Annabelle, and not a benevolent soul. Here's what the Warrens said about Annabelle. Spirits do not possess inanimate objects, like houses or toys. They possess people. An inhuman spirit can attach itself to a place or object, and this is what occurred in the Annabelle case. This spirit manipulated the doll and created the illusion of it being alive in order to get recognition. Truly, the spirit was not looking to stay attached to the doll. It was looking to possess a human host. Immediately, the Warrens noted what they believed were signs of demonic possession, including teleportation, the doll moving on its own, materialization, the parchment paper notes, and the mark of the beast, Lou's clawed chest. The Warrens subsequently ordered an exorcism of the apartment to be performed by Father Cook. Then they took Annabelle out of the apartment and to her final resting place, in their occult museum, in the hopes that her demonic reign would finally end. However, it was far from over. On their way home, the Warrens decided to avoid the highway, scared that Annabelle would cause the vehicle to crash. So instead they took the back roads home. But as they drove, the brakes began to stall in the car, leading to a near fatal crash. Ed decided to toss holy water onto the doll, and once he did, the brakes began to work normally. Once home, Ed and Lorraine placed the doll in Ed's study. There, they reported that the doll levitated and moved about the house, even when placed in the locked office of an elder building. The Warrens claimed that she would turn up later inside the home. Realizing this would not stop, the couple locked Annabelle in a custom-made glass case. Ed also inscribed the case in the Lord's Prayer and St. Michael's Prayer for the rest of his life. Ed would also periodically say a binding prayer over the case, ensuring Annabelle remained trapped. Since being locked up, the doll has not moved. Unfortunately, that did not mean the occurrences stopped. A priest who was visiting the home picked up Annabelle and laughed at the thought she was possessed. Ed warned the priest, but he just laughed and called the man foolish. On his way home, the priest was involved in a near-fatal crash. The thing is, before the accident, the priest swore he saw Annabelle in his rearview mirror. Another visitor banged on the glass and mocked people who believed Annabelle was cursed. On his way home, his motorcycle spun out of control, and he crashed into a tree, dying instantly. His girlfriend was also on the bike, but ended up surviving. She did admit before the crash they were laughing about Annabelle. Since then, more occurrences have happened, convincing many people that Annabelle is indeed possessed by an evil entity, and must under any circumstances never be mocked, belittled, or screamed at, unless you want to risk the fate and end up like those who have done so.